Hello Year 4s. Now I'm hoping today we are going to find out a bit more about these two scary men out in the middle of the night. We're just going to read one chapter today. So chapter 5, Exciting Plans. Next morning Janet went down to the shed by herself. Peter was brushing Scamper. He was well and truly brushed every single morning, so it was no wonder his coat shone so beautifully. "Just open the shed and give it an airing," ordered Peter. "We shan't be using it today. There won't be any meetings yet." Janet skipped down the path humming. She took the key from its hiding place, a little ledge beneath the roof of the shed, and slipped it into the lock. She opened the door. The shed smelled rather stuffy. She left the door open and she went to open the little window too. When she turned around, she saw Jack's note on the floor. At first she thought it was an odd bit of waste paper, and she picked it up and crumpled it, meaning to throw it away. Then she caught sight of a word on the outside of the folded paper. Urgent, very important indeed. She was astonished. She opened the paper out and glanced down at it. Her mouth fell open in amazement. She raced out of the shed at top speed, yelling for Peter. "Peter, Peter, where are you? Something's happened! Quick!" Her mother heard her and called to her, "Janet, Janet, what's the matter, dear? What happened?" "Oh, nothing, Mummy," called back Janet, suddenly remembering that this was the secret society business. "Well, why are you screeching for Peter like that?" said her mother. "You made me jump." Janet flew up the stairs to where Peter was still brushing Scamper. "Peter, didn't you hear me calling? I tell you, something's happened." "What is it?" asked Peter. "Look, I found this paper when I went to the shed this morning," said Janet, and she gave him Jack's note. "It's marked urgent, very important indeed. Look what it says inside." Peter read out loud what Jack had written. "Peter, call a meeting of the Secret Seven at once. Very important mystery to solve. It happened to me last night about 9:30. Get the others together at 10 if you can. I'll be there. Jack." "What on earth does he mean?" said Peter in wonder. "Something happened to him last night. Well, why is it such a mystery then? I expect he's exaggerating." He's not, I'm sure he's not," cried Janet, dancing from one foot to another in her excitement. "Jack doesn't exaggerate. You know he doesn't. Shall I go and tell the others to come at 10 if they can, Peter? It's exciting, it's a mystery." "You wait and see what the mystery is before you get all worked up," said Peter, who, however, was beginning to feel rather thrilled himself. "I'll go and tell Colin and George. You can tell the girls." Janet sped off in one direction and Peter in another. How lovely to have to call a meeting already, and about something so exciting too. It was about 9:30 when the two came back. Everyone had promised to come. They were all very anxious to know what Jack had got to say. "Remember your badges," Janet said to the two girls. "You won't be admitted to an important meeting like this unless you know the password and have your badge." Everyone turned up early, eager to hear the news. Everyone remembered the password too. "Weekdays," and the door was opened and shut. "Weekdays," and once more the door was opened and shut. Member after member passed in wearing the badge and murmuring the password. Both Colin and George had their badges this morning. George had found his, and Colin's mother had already made him one. Jack was the last to arrive, which was most annoying because everyone was dying to hear what he had to say. But he came at last. "Weekdays," said his voice softly outside the shed door. It opened and he went in. Everyone looked at him expectantly. "We got your note and warned all the members to attend this meeting," said Peter. "What's up, Jack? Is it really important?" "Well, you listen and see," said Jack, as he sat down on the box left empty for him. "It happened last night." He began to tell his story, how he had missed his badge and he felt certain he had dropped it in the field where the snowmen were, how he slipped out with his torch to find it, and what he had heard and seen from the field. "That frightful noise, the snorting and the horrid squeal," he said, "nearly made my hair stand on end. Why did those men come down that lane last night? It doesn't lead anywhere. It stops a little bit further on, just by a great holly hedge. And what could the thing be that they were towing behind?" "Was it a cage or something? Or was it a closed van? Was someone being kept prisoner?" asked Barbara. "It wasn't a cage as far as I could see," said Jack. "I couldn't even see any windows to it. It was more like a small removal van than anything. But whatever was inside wasn't furniture. I tell you, it snorted and squealed and struggled." Was it a man inside, do you think? Asked Pam, her eyes wide with interest and excitement. No, I don't think so. It might have been, of course, said Jack. But a man doesn't snort like that. Well, unless he had a gag over his mouth, perhaps. This was a new thought and rather an alarming one. Nobody spoke for a minute. Well, said Jack at last, it certainly is something for the Secret Seven to look into. There's no doubt about that. It's all very mysterious indeed. How are we going to tackle it? Said George. They all sat and thought. We had better find out if we can tell anything by the tracks in the snow, said Peter. We'll find out too if there are car tracks up the drive to the old house. Oh yes, and we could ask the old caretaker if he heard anything last night, said Peter. Oh, Bags, I don't want to do that, said Pam at once. I'd hate to go and ask him questions. Well, someone's got to do it, said George. It might be important. And we might try and find out who owns the old empty house, said Colin. Yes, said Peter. Well, let's split up the inquiries. Pam, you go with George and see if you can find out who owns the house. How do we find out? Asked Pam. Well, you'll have to use your common sense, said Peter. I can't decide everything, Janet. You and Barbara can go down the lane and examine it for car tracks and anything else you can think of. Right, said Janet, glad that she hadn't got to question the caretaker. Colin, Jack and I will go into the drive of the old house and see if we can get the caretaker to tell us anything, said Peter, feeling rather important as he made up all these arrangements. Well, what's Scamper to do? Asked Janet. He's going to come with us, said Peter, in case the caretaker turns nasty. Old Scamper can turn nasty too if he has to. Oh yes, that's a good idea to take Scamper, agreed Jack, relieved at the thought of having the dog with him. Well, shall we set off? Yes, meet and report here this afternoon, said Peter. You've discovered a most exciting mystery, Jack, and it's up to the Secret Seven to solve it as soon as they can. So let's see, you fours, if the Secret Seven solve the mystery. I'll see you tomorrow.